to first welcome everybody to the Woodridge Intermediate School. And I want a nice round of applause for our principal here, Robert Bischoff. When we put this venture together, joining forces, a truly public-private partnership with private money coming from the developer of West Pond Station, and we got into getting this building open. Bob, with all his years of experience in this school system, stepped up this summer and spent many hours here, working side by side with our staff and our borough manager, Chris Eiler, and the contractor to make sure when September 3rd came, this place was ready to roll. And it truly is a testament to all the professionalism of Woodridge teachers over the years, and that's a credit to Bob and the work that he's done here. So thank you, Bob. I want to introduce the folks who are with me on stage. Our Council President, Catherine Cassidy, Councilman Joseph DeMarco, Councilman Ezio Altamura, our liaison, and has a great working relationship with the Board of Education, Councilman Dominic Azzolini, Councilman Philip Romero, and Councilman Edward Marino. Also with us is our borough manager, DPW superintendent, and every other title we give him, Christopher Eiler. To my right, our president, Albie Davies, of the Board of Education, Bob Valente, our Vice President of the Board of Education, Joe Biamonte, I think a former player of Coach Bischoff as well, Robert Talamini, longtime member of the Board of Education, and our interim superintendent who's doing a great job, Joe Longo, bringing us all together. This is a very brief program, and I know tonight is back to school night, and what a fitting way to honor somebody who is all about back to school. And staying in school and working hard at school, John Bischoff. So it's fitting that we do this tonight. I see a lot of anxious parents can't wait. We've been in this building now. I feel like I live here. I've been here 3 or 4 times. So, Mr. Rescione, Mr. Longo, I promise you this is it for me now. Unless I go back to coach basketball this year, I'm not going to be back here until then. But this is an exciting building. It really is an exciting opportunity, exciting building. And we are honored as the governing body to be able to name this gymnasium, the John H. Bischoff Memorial Gymnasium, after somebody who truly embodies what it is to be a student athlete, and then somebody to come back where you started and to teach, and not just teach, but become a mentor, become a colleague, to come back and coach, somebody to put his heart and spirit into really helping Woodridge students go out there and achieve everything that they possible. And you know, everybody has a story. I played for John Bischoff, and I can tell you many stories. Just tonight I was coaching junior football, and I see Dan Rella here, one of our assistant coaches, and he was talking about when he coached with John Bischoff, and he was a young coach just out of high school, and sharing some things about John. I think if you went around the room and everybody who touched base with John or came into contact with John would have the same thoughts and feelings about what he meant and how he rubbed onto you, how he made you feel better when you walked away. And trust me, I played for him. He wasn't the most easiest guy to deal with, and he was a difficult coach. But at the end of the day, when you left that building, you left that locker room, you left that classroom, John made you feel important, and he made you feel like you've accomplished something. And we hope that every child that comes into this gymnasium, whether it's for a learning adventure or an athletic event or a community event, recognizes what John meant to this town and takes the same spirit with him as they either here to learn or compete or just to help our community in a charitable way. They take that same spirit that John had for our community and take it with them. As they're here in this gymnasium. So after the passing of John, I just want to share how we came to naming this gymnasium. After the passing of John, we were approached by many of his former colleagues who were teaching with him about recognizing him in a very important way. And as we started to put this school together, and we started to talk about the school and what it really would mean to our town, We sat around, the mayor, council, members of the Board of Education. I see many coaches here, current coaches, and members of the public. And it all just came together. What a perfect place, this gymnasium to name after John Bischoff. So I just want to share with you the actual resolution. This is not the plaque. And I know Mr. Schoner is going to share something about the plaque with you. But I just want to share with you the actual resolution. And I think this says it all. Whereas it is the sense of the governing body to recognize and pay tribute to those educators and athletic coaches who have served the youth of this municipality and distinguished themselves in their schools through outstanding commitment and exemplary athletic achievement. And whereas John H. Bischoff was a teacher extraordinaire who possessed all those qualities listed above. And whereas John was born and raised in Woodridge, graduated from Woodridge High School in 1981, attended and earned his B.S. in accounting from Montclair State University, and his MBA from Fairleigh Dickinson University. After 13 years of private sector work, probably making a lot more money, John returned to the school to follow his true possession and his true passion, and that was teaching. Whereas, after he received postgraduate teaching degrees from Jersey City University and Montclair State University, John taught various history courses, as well as economics and current issues at Woodridge High School for 12 years. Whereas, in addition to his love for teaching, John was the natural coach. He coached varsity football and baseball at Woodridge High School and relished in coaching his daughter's softball teams. Whereas, being a skilled and inspirational educator, John H. Bischoff earned just respect and admiration of the community, his peers, and the athletes he so ably coached. Now therefore be resolved by the Mayor and Council, the Borough of Woodridge, that the Gymnasium at the Woodridge Intermediate School be now designated and hereafter known as the John H. Bischoff Memorial Gymnasium. Be it further resolved that the official dedication of the John H. Bischoff Memorial Gymnasium will be held on September 26, 2013 at the Woodridge Intermediate School. Hereby signed, Mayor Paul A. Sarlo. At this point in time, I'd like to bring up Kenneth Schoner, a teacher, a coach, a friend, and a mentor to John.
First of all, it's very nice to see this many people here, especially for this evening. I'd like to thank Jackie, Nicole, and Kelly for giving me the opportunity to speak tonight. On the drive down tonight, right before I got a flat tire, I was wondering how John would feel about this honor. I think he would feel an immense amount of pride. But John was a humble man who frequently deflected praise. He was happy when other people were receiving the praise. I could just imagine him shaking his head, saying, "This isn't really necessary." In this rare case, I would have to disagree with him. It is not just necessary, it is a perfect fit. John was an outstanding teacher with a passion for education. A passion only surpassed by his love for his family. John loved to work with young people, loved competition, he loved sportsmanship. His intensity and his work ethic should be emulated. To have this gymnasium in this school named after him is a very special connection. I'd like to thank Mayor Sarlo, the Council, and the Board of Education for an outstanding job of making this dedication happen. In a little while, a plaque is going to be unveiled on the back wall. Take the opportunity to read it. First, it's a great picture. Second, the words are a tremendous representation of who John was. And I think it's something that we should all take with us. I coached John. I taught him. Coaching was a little shaky. JV basketball was not his specialty. But I loved every minute of it. I taught with him. And most of all, I learned from him. I'm happy and proud with the dedication of the John H. Bischoff Memorial Gymnasium. Thank you for everybody who's been involved. Thank you.
At this point, I'm going to ask everybody who actually coached with John or coached John, if you could just stand to be recognized. I know you're all here. Go ahead, don't be shy. Anybody coached with John or coached John in any of the year? And before we hear from John's lovely wife, I would just like to recognize two great families who've been involved with Woodridge for many years, went to school with many of them, played with many of them, and that is the Bischoff family and the Salerno family. The members of the Bischoff and Salerno family, please stand. Go ahead, please stand. Thank you. At this time, I'd like to bring up Jackie Bischoff and John's two daughters, Nicole and Kelly.
Before I even start, I just want to point out that the beautiful picture you see on that plaque was taken by Bart Roberti and presented to John at the first baseball dinner, his first year coaching varsity baseball. Good evening. I stand before you honored to represent John and his entire family. First and foremost, we'd like to begin by thanking the many people who worked together to make this happen. Mayor Paul Sarlo and the Woodridge Council were faced with the extremely difficult task of honoring John's memory, and they rose to the occasion with spectacular results. Chris Eilert, who I will finally get to meet in person tonight, consulted with me for the last 6 months on so many personal details, being sure to honor all of our family's wishes. The Woodridge Board of Education, the faculty, and the entire community of Woodridge. You've never wavered in your outpouring of love and support for our family, and we thank you from the bottom of our hearts. As I look around this beautiful gym, I can't help but remember what an incredibly special place it has always been. John and I both grew up in Woodridge. John played CYO basketball in this gym, and we both attended CCD classes in what is now the Woodridge Intermediate School. I think my brother, Tommy Salerno, broke at least 10 windows during the years he was a student here. Our daughter Nicole attended kindergarten and first grade in this very school before we later moved to Riverbound. Perhaps the most incredible event took place here in this gym in October of '95. There was a fire in the church at that time, and this gym was used as a church during the renovation. During that time, Kelly was baptized here. Only a child of John's would end up being baptized on a basketball court. I would be remiss if I did not tell you that the two greatest influences in John's life were his late mother and father, Diane and Albert Bischoff. They taught John, Jim, Denise, and Joe, right or wrong, to always give your absolute best effort, to treat others with respect, and to value your family above all else. How proud they must be of John and all of their children for the wonderful adults they have become, and for always honoring their parents' memory by emulating them in every way possible. Woodridge is a wonderful place to grow up in and to raise your family. Surely the Salerno and Bischoff families will never forget the warm memories of this town and how very much John loved it. Thank you, Mom and Dad, for letting me grow up here. I never would have met and then married John if not for you, and what a loss that would have been. One of the most influential people in American history said it best. Abraham Lincoln was actually describing John in this quote. I am not bound to win, but I am bound to be true. I am bound to live by the light that I have. John had a strong light, bright and beautiful, and it shines on everyone he ever met.
Although I graduated from Passaic Valley High School and I'm currently a senior at Marist College, I will always consider myself a Blue Devil. I was 7 years old when my dad began teaching and coaching at Woodridge. I'll never forget having a catch with his football players during double sessions or writing on the blackboard in his classroom before the school plays. My father was way too modest to have any idea of how much of an impact he had on not only his students and players, but everyone who knew him. I am now following in my dad's footsteps and studying to become a teacher. My education courses focus on techniques to become an effective teacher, but the characteristics my dad possessed cannot be obtained from studying and reading textbooks. There is no one quite like him, and I am proud to call him my father. Lou Gehrig once said, "Today I consider myself the luckiest man on the face of the earth." This reminds me a lot of my dad because he considered himself truly blessed to have the best family and friends, and to be able to call Woodridge his home.
Ever since I was a little girl, I too, like Nicole, wanted to be a Blue Devil. In the mind of a 5-year-old, I thought it would be so cool to see my dad in the hallways, eat peanut butter and jelly sandwiches with him in the break room, and maybe one day take his U.S. history class. I would roam around the house in an infinite amount of blue, covered in Blue Devil attire, hoping one day to be a part of this town. Seeing this gym, I can't think of a better representation. The Bischoff family cannot thank the town of Woodridge enough for the unbelievable support it has shown us not just today, but throughout my dad's entire teaching career. Sadly, I did not attend Woodridge High School, but I feel more like a Blue Devil each and every day. When I cheered in the rock pile at home basketball games, attended the school play, and now every time I pass the Woodridge Intermediate School. There's a quote from one of my dad's favorite movies, It's a Wonderful Life, that I'd like to share with you. Strange, isn't it? Each man's life touches so many other lives. When he isn't around, he leaves an awful hole, doesn't he? Although the kids that play in this gym will not have the privilege of knowing my dad, I would say that the best way to honor him would be to continue living a life well lived for all of his kids. Not just me and Nicole, but the ones he cared for all those years in the classroom. May all who play and coach here continue to be inspired by my dad's legacy of personal integrity, honesty, and fairness. Thank you.
I am going to now ask the family to join with me over in the corner of the gymnasium where students will enter and athletes will enter on a regular basis. The first item that they'll see when they enter into the gymnasium is the plaque memorializing John. So the family can join with me.